Welcome back to Bayona's RC World. In today's video, we're going to go ahead and start on the Great Plains Ultra Sport 1000. No retracts, alright? I want to go ahead and take this time to go ahead and say thank you to Williams Davis, Hampstead, North Carolina. I want to say appreciate it and thank you for selling this kit to me, because I mean, you gave me a good deal and I couldn't, pass that up. With that said, let's get started on this kit. Sit back, relax, enjoy the video, and let's get on with it. Alright guys, so you see I got the plans laid out. Went ahead and I covered the vertical stab and rudder area with my cling wrap. Alright, we're gonna go ahead and start. Alright, so just once again, just building this basic as you can be. Alright, and we're just gonna follow along on the instructions here. Alright, and your typical Great Plains. Alright, so we're gonna be doing this right here, building the tail feathers, and these are all the items we're gonna need. Alright, we're gonna build the rudder first, which is alright, kind of awkward because I normally build the vertical fin first, but hey, they say let's build the rudder first, so we're gonna build the rudder. Let's do this. Alright guys, alright, so what we got going on first here is basically getting all the wood pieces needed to build up the tail feathers. Alright, and so all the boxes that are checked, corresponding lengths, width, and height of the your balsa stock right there. Alright, so as you can see, this is what we got based off of that list. Alright, we got the rudder bottom. Alright, rudder trailing edge. This is the fin trailing edge, rudder trailing edge stock. Rudder top, fin leading edge, fin top, and then we got your fin bottoms, and you got your ribs. This stock right here, you got two of these. Also, you got two of the fin bottoms, and then we got three 116 by 3 by 30 inch sheeting, basically to sheet up your tail section. All right, so I got the wood laid out, and we're gonna go ahead and start matching everything up to the plans, getting my measurements, cutting, and getting it all glued. Alright guys, let's get started. Alright guys, so the first steps basically on this is to make the rudder leading edge and rudder trailing edge. Alright, out of the 1/4 by 3/4 by 20 inch long stock. Alright, matching up with the plans, and it's pretty much basic stuff. Just look at the instruction manual at the same time looking at your plans and verify your cut areas. Alright, like in this case, you're going to see a dotted line right here on the plans, because this is going to get cut diagonally right here. Alright, and all that, as you can see right here, I went ahead and I did that with the line. I'm going to go ahead and cut this. I'm going to cut it just a slight bit bigger. That way I can tailor it to the actual fitment of this area right here with the sanding block. Alright, and I went ahead and I did the trailing edge of the rudder, and just butt it up against the bottom piece here. I got my mark right here, and then went ahead and did that. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut this off camera here with my Zona saw here, and yeah, let's go ahead and take care of that. I'm going to cut this right before the line. Just like that. That way I can go ahead and sand that to the line, get it all nice and straight. Same thing with this. got this part here cut. So I'm gonna line it up, and I'm just using the other parts just to ensure we're within the perimeter. You know, just fit it all up in there, and then right there we can go ahead and butt that up. Just making sure everything fits perfectly. Same thing with the bottom here, just like that. And then eventually the rudder bottom here that we're gonna have to also bevel, or cut in that angle, just like so, to fit together like that. All right, let me go ahead and cut the trailing edge here. Got that also cut. Make sure we got all that good to go. Alright. Just want to make sure everything is within its perimeter. Where it's too small, you want everything to match up. There we go. So I'm going to go ahead and pin this down to the board right there. Get started with the rest. Alright, so we got the leading edge, trailing edge, and also the rudder top basically pinned on the board. We got everything all cut. I went ahead and I cut the bottom, right, to match up with the angle here, just like that with the plan. And with that, and I went ahead and I just eyeballed the radius here, and I just drew that with a pen. Alright. And so I'm going to go ahead and then just pin this down in there. Alright, next we're going to go ahead and it says here with the excess of the 1 inch by 1/4 stock, alright, to make a gusset. Alright, so you got your 1/4 balsa gusset right here. I went ahead and I did that as well. And so we got that. Alright, just like that. And also for the rear gusset here. Alright, matches up with the plans. And then from here, we can basically glue this together to create the rudder frame. Alright. And so we're going to go ahead and grab our thin CA. That's what I'm going to use to glue this together. And I'm going to wick thin CA in these joints here. Alright. Making sure everything is pushed down. Alright. Now if you guys are concerned about the black marks, don't use a pen. Alright. I'm not worried about it, because this is going to get sheeted anyway, so this is going to be all underneath the sheeting. So we went ahead and we glued that down. Now we're going to make the ribs out of the 1/8 by 1/4 by 30 inch stock right here. And we're just gonna go in here and we're gonna taper everything and cut it and then start fitting it all in there. All right, so we got the ribs basically all cut and glued into the actual rudder framework. So from here, we're just gonna go ahead and allow this to dry. And once it's completely dried, we're gonna go ahead and actually start trimming the rudder to match the actual plan. And then we're gonna sand both sides nice and flush and flat. All right, guys, so I'm gonna basically take this off of the building board. All right, so I got, this is my my cling wrap, right, from Glad cling wrap to protect the plans. Mind you, this was all saturated with the joints with thin CA. All right, here we go. We're gonna pull this off. You can see it's stuck to the, it's stuck, right? But it's not gonna come off like wax paper. Done. All right, you see that, right? Now, if this was wax paper, I will be peeling the wax paper off of the joints right here. Right? So this can be used again. Right? I can still go ahead and pop this down here and assemble something, glue something, and still can use the cling wrap. Did not stick. Now all that right there that you see, the glossiness, that's just the CA. Right? That is not the plastic. That's just CA. Alright. Cool. So I got the rudder off of the plans. Now what we need to do is we need to draw the center line throughout. Alright. And I found it the easiest way to draw the center line instead of actually just measuring it. This is 1/4, so it's 1/8, right? 1/8 of an inch, and then the center. Well, just get your the stock, your 1/8 by 1/4 by 30 inch. Well, in this case, this right here, this is your ribs. This is what we use to make the ribs here. All you have to do with this is just place it on a flat surface like so, and make sure it's pushed down. Make sure your rudder's pushed down, and then just take your pen and trace the outline there on the top portion of the stock, just like so. All right, and when you take this off, everything should be right smack down the center, just like so. All right, so I'm going to do that all the way around, just like this. Push it down. Just basically find your center line. And when you come to the radius area, just all you have to do is just keep everything down and just keep turning, just like that. And then all the way around. Oh, let me do the top part here. Put that down just like that. And there you go. We got our complete center line all the way around the rudder in no time. All right. Now from here, I went ahead and I sanded the perimeter before we did the center line. I sanded the perimeter to match the plans. So if you put this directly over the plan, everything lines up exactly just like such. All right, so from here, we're just gonna sand the whole rudder flat, you know, blend everything in, both sides. We're just gonna sand it all smooth, right? And then from there, we are gonna taper the whole rudder to that center line we just drew. All right, the trailing edge should finish up about 1/16 of an inch thick right here at this end here. So we're just gonna use maybe 60 grit sandpaper, and we're just gonna keep sanding it until we get to that proper bevel, right, following the line on both sides. Alrighty, Alright guys, so I went ahead and I got the rudder sanded, beveled. Alright, the leading edge of the rudder is basically 1/16 of an inch thick. Alright, based on the instruction manual, they want the trailing edge to be 1/16 thick, and that way we can go ahead and sheet both sides and get the proper thickness for that. Alright, and yeah, so that is it, all glued up, glued to the sheeting, as you can, and then we're gonna go ahead and get the other side sheeting prepared. Once this one cures up a little bit more, I'm gonna go ahead and trim this around, and then we'll go ahead and get the other sheeting here basically glued, edge glued together and all. Alright, and so for this one right here, we're gonna basically take this 30-inch sheet, 1/16 by 3-inch by 30-inch sheet, and we're gonna cut this down into two 12-inch pieces. Alright, so we got one 12-inch piece right here, and then the other one right here. Alright, so this right here would be just basically excess, which you would save for probably somewhere down the line during the build. You'd be utilizing it, not too sure, but it is what it is. Alright, so what I'm going to do is, I'm not going to sand this yet. I'm going to go ahead and cut these two pieces, 12-inch pieces off. I'm going to ensure that the edge here is straight. So taking your straight edge ruler, putting it from one tip to the other tip, and then verifying in between. As you can see, we got a little excess. That means this piece is not straight. Therefore, we will trim this right at the line. And since it's not that much, you can just use a sanding block and go ahead and sand that nice and straight. And then we could go ahead and cut it, and then edge glue this and this together to make two sheets like this side by side, and that will be glued on to this right hand side of the rudder. Sheeting here cut at 12-inch lengths. I already went ahead and I sanded the leading edge here, all right, or one side of the sheeting. All right, that way both pieces can get joined together just like this without any gaps. All right, in a perfect world. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and verify on both sides, and I like this side to be the exterior portion. Therefore, I'm going to put the glue in on this side. All right, make sure we got it all pushed together. Everything is pushed down, and the hardest part, the joint is really good, so I can't really see where it's at. I think this is it right there, so we're just gonna wow, okay, I think this is it right here. Just gonna put a little bit there. Let that soak in for a little bit, and then just wipe it off. All right, you can see it penetrated through. The reason why I did it that way is that you don't have that much CA on the nice side, right? You can see it penetrated through. It's not splitting in the middle there. You know, we just have to fine tune that by sanding that piece down slightly. All right, so we're just gonna just like that. doesn't require much sanding because these two pieces were really nicely fitted together. The back side. Alright. Oops, sorry about that. Alright, so this is the side here that will be in the inside. And this will be the exterior portion of the right hand side. Alright, so it's going to go on just like that. It's going to be glued on just like so. And then press down to ensure proper bond. Alright, so we're going to go ahead and take our CA. Now, to ensure on this side here, if you didn't get a good glue joint, this is about a good time to go through and maybe wick some thin CA through your ribs and all that stuff. But I know for a fact that I got a lot of CA on there, so we're good to go. Now, you're not going to have that luxury doing the opposite side. Alright, so this side here, you got to ensure that you got a CA pretty much, or, you know, Type Bond or whatever glue you're using. Make sure it's pretty much all the way around on the ribs and everywhere that's going to be, the sheeting is going to be making contact with. Alright, you don't want this sheeting to be loose anywhere. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm not going to be stingy when it comes to this part here, CA and all. I'm going to go basically around the perimeter here and the inner side here. And then we're going to basically coat every rib to ensure we got a good bond. Alright, so everything is coated. Flip this over. We're going to place it down. Alright, and from here, I'm just going to put pressure. Put pressure. Even pressure throughout. Alright, so we're going to be just like that. And then from here, if you got like excess CA oozing out, you just wipe it off. That way it's not that hard to you know, cut the perimeter, as you can see here. Alright, now I know for a fact too that my rudder will be straight, because first of all, we sanded the rudder at a bevel utilizing a T-bar sanding block, right, to ensure everything is all nice and uniform. And then when we place the sheeting on, we ensure that we put pressure equally throughout. All right, that way when you look sight down this rudder, you would see it's straight, because with that taper, without the sheeting on, that rudder trailing edge is flimsy. All right, so you got to ensure that you got good sheeting on there and that it is pushed down straight and have good contact. All right, because you don't want to build in any warps. All right, so we're just gonna go ahead and let this cure. All right, so that is pretty much the rudder assembly. All right, guys, so we got pretty much the perimeter cut and sanded. All right, as you can see right here, what we need to do from here now is bevel the front leading edge of the rudder and round your training edge, right, to match the plans. But other than that, that's pretty much it right there. The rudder for the Ultra Sport 1000. As you can see, it matches the plans just right, and therefore it's time to start on the fin. Alright guys, so basically what I did was I constructed the fin off camera because my phone was dead, and so went ahead and I just assembled it. Alright, nothing difficult about this part. Just basically gluing, edge gluing the two balsa sheets, the fin bottom, gluing these two together, and then just outlining everything and cutting everything as per the plan. Nothing difficult about this part. Yeah, as far as that. Now, as far as the 1/8 by 1/4 balsa fin ribs, you know, they give you two 20, I believe it's 20-inch length. They really don't give you enough to if you make a mistake or whatever. So I advise, you know, measure 10 times, cut once type deal, you know, because if you're short, hopefully you got some, you know, stash laying around to go ahead and add to. All right, so if you do not, and this is the only wood that you got is in the kit, then I advise you to double check your measurements, sand them right, you know, take your time and get it all measured and cut properly. That way you do not have waste, you don't cut too much and then become short on one side or the other. All right, so I was good, you know, but yeah, this is pretty much what I was left with right there. That's it. All right, so that's pretty much it. I'm gonna go ahead and allow this to dry, and then we're gonna take this off, and then we're gonna sand everything nice and smooth and sheet this whole section before we apply the fin leading edge and the fin top. All right, these two pieces are going to be added after this is sheeted. All right, so do not glue this on yet until after this fin portion has been sheeted. All right, so I went ahead and I pulled off the fin off of the building board. I went ahead and basically sanded both sides nice and flush with my T-bar sander. All right, just making it all nice and flush, blending everything together, right, to include the outer perimeter. All right, so we got that all going on. I went ahead and I took one of my 1/16 by 3-inch by 30-inch sheet. The 1/30-inch sheet can make the skin for the left and right of the fin. All right, as you can see right here. Sorry, I keep hitting the tripod there. But anywho, as you can see right here, we got your main piece, we got the center piece, and then we got the very front, right? So we got the main piece, center piece, and the tip. All right, so this is basically half of the 30-inch sheet right here. Okay, so I gotta separate that and edge glue that together. This is the sheet all edge glued together, sanded and all. All right, so this is going to be the exterior portion. This is the interior side. All right, so from here we're just going to go ahead and plop this on, and we are going to glue this whole fin directly onto the sheeting, utilizing some medium CA. Alright, here we go. Plop it down on our skin, making sure that we are in the right area. It's the reason why you kind of leave it a little bigger. You got room to work with this. Alright, and once again, I'm going to utilize my T-bar sander to add the pressure so we can ensure that our fin doesn't develop any warps. Alright. The sheeting pretty much cut out so that we can prepare to get the other side sheeted. Alright, and so it's gonna go just like that, and we're gonna edge glue this, or edge glue this all together, get it all prepared, and this will basically sheet this side of the fin. Alright, I went ahead and I had sanded all this. Prepare your sheeting so that we can get a good joint. Alright, so this will be the inside portion of the sheeting, so that's where I'll be applying the glue. That way we minimize a lot of beading on the outside to also minimize a lot of sanding. Alright, therefore if I were to do the exterior portion of the sheeting and put the glue here, then that means I have to concentrate more on sanding this portion here, right? So instead of doing that, we will basically do it from the inside and whatever. All right, you can tell it's a good joint because I can't see where my seam is at. All right, so I'm just gonna follow it up from up here. All right, we'll do it like that, let it seep through just a little bit, and then wipe it off. All right. Just give it time to soak through, and then wipe it off. All right. We'll go ahead and take care of this piece. Make sure everything is pushed down. Alright. So from here, we'll just basically give a light sanding to this seam area, so we don't have a thick piece of CA here. There you go, just like that. Now, lifting it up from... Now, mind you, throughout this whole process, this is still the original cling wrap. Alright? I have not changed it yet. And as you can see, what I'm talking about, how much it bled through, the CA went all the way through. Alright? So we're just going to go ahead and give this a light sanding. Just like that. Alright, we're going to go ahead and put that down. We're going to double check everything. And just like that, perfect. So yep, both sides. So we're gonna go ahead and take some of the CA, and we're gonna, now if you guys utilize zip kicker or activator for your CA, you're not gonna have the luxury of applying, you know, a bead of CA to your wood structure, because more than likely the minute you start applying CA like this, if you were to utilize zip kicker or activator in these joints, it's gonna start kicking off right now, and it's not gonna work out right for you. All right, so if you do plan to use zip kicker, if you're using CA, be mindful of where you're applying the zip kicker at. All right, because it still will activate, even if you applied it, you know, earlier on in the build during the construction. That kicker will still activate and harden up your CA glue. All right, so just be mindful. And you can see right here, I didn't use any kicker here at all. I don't really use kicker much, only if I really have to. All right, so from here we're going to make sure we're over the wood structure, and we're gonna apply it down using my T-bar sander once again to apply even pressure. So we're not developing any warps. All right, that's pretty much it, guys. All right, there you go. So we're gonna go ahead and place this down. Same thing we did last time. We're gonna apply some weight and allow that to cure completely before we move on to the next step. All right, guys. So as you can see, we got the leading edge of the fin over the plan, right? And we went ahead and followed the outline, made my cuts to fit perfectly right in that area. All right. And so from here, now that we got the actual fin sheeted, both sides, it will mate up with the thickness of this leading edge now. As you can see right here, maybe about, and you got a little bit to sand off, which is good, right? So that everything can be flushed all together. Now, before you do that, what I like to do is I like to take whatever is going to get butted up or glued to this fixture. I like to kind of put them all together like such to ensure that everything still lines up and we get it in the proper position. Because if I didn't do that and I was just to line it up with the plans, sometimes you can be just a little bit off. All right, and then I don't want it to be where it's like this or I have a gap, you know, whatnot. So I want everything to line up just right on the plan without having to adjust anything later or sand anything off later. All right, and so from here I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna glue this with thin CA. All right, that way I can go ahead and lock this down. All right, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna lock it down. I'm pushing it tightly together at this point here, and while I'm still pushing it tightly, I'm gonna lock certain areas down. That way I can go ahead and just apply the CA. Alright. Now, you got to remember too, where I'm putting the T-pins. I'm putting it in the thick areas of the balsa, because we know everything else in here is just pretty much your 1/8 by 1/4 ribs. So I don't want to push the T-pin through the sheeting by itself. Might have a chance of cracking the sheeting while I'm pushing the T-pin through. Alright, so be mindful where you're putting your T-pins through if you're going to do it this way. Alright, or you can just take medium CA, apply it to your piece, and then glue them together. But in that case, you're really going to need to put some marks. For me, I would put like a tick mark here to here, here to here, to ensure everything gets lined up properly. But in this case, I'm just going to use thin CA, making sure everything is pushed down, right? And then from here, get my rag, and then we're just going to go ahead and apply our thin CA all the way down that seam. Alright, just like that. And then I'm going to quickly wipe that off. Now, why am I putting it on this side? Because for one, this is how we got it pinned, right? And because we got the leading edge a little thicker than the main fin, it don't make a difference if I have, you know, the CA here, because it's all gonna get sanded. All right. So we got that, and then we got your fin top, all right, which will get placed on here like such, and eventually all this is gonna get, you know, cut and all that stuff. So I'm just gonna estimate where this is at. It's right about here, and I can go ahead and take my ruler so we can get this thing all measured out. Relocate this one. Mount this flush with my leading edge here, and I'm just gonna do a quick outline. Alright, and eventually on this right here, I don't want to pre-cut this just yet. I want to go ahead and ensure everything is on here first, but I'm just gonna go ahead and kind of give this outline as well to give me a representation of the end portion, just like that. Now, like I said, I'm not going to cut that yet until all this is glued on, and then we get the rudder attached. Alright, and only then, as you can see, right, is when I will actually start adjusting everything, tailoring it to the actual structure altogether. I'm going to place this here. Just like that. Pushing everything down. Just like such. There you go. Now we're just going to go ahead and let this cure. I'm going to go ahead and pin this down as well. Alright, and we'll just let that cure, and then we'll come back when it's all said and done. Now, as far as the top here, we're gonna have to tape this completely. Make sure everything is straight. We'll get our center line here, and then we'll also taper all this to match the rudder. Alright guys, so before we go ahead and start sanding, especially the top fin here, we need to ensure that first of all, everything is all centered and attached. Alright, so we actually got to hinge the rudder and also prepare the trailing edge of the fin to accept these hinges so that everything is all centered. That way we can go ahead and also lock this tip of the rudder trailing edge to the centerpiece of the top fin. That way we can sand this properly. Alright, because if you sand this crooked, eventually you're gonna alter the deflection of the rudder. So we want to keep it as straight as possible. And so from there, the best way to do that is to actually hinge and install your rudder to the fin. Alright, now how am I actually hinging this? I don't have any special tools. Alright, I don't have a hinge slotting machine. I mean, I used to once upon a time, but I find it just a little bit more tedious to work with, especially once you turn it on and stuff, and it saws into the if you don't have it down properly and all that stuff, you can, it jumps and all that. So I find it just easier to utilize my X-Acto blade, just being careful and especially not to cut yourself. Alright, that's the main thing. And so from here, I'm just using my X-Acto blade. This is a number 2 blade, and I got my center line here. By utilizing this tool, this is pretty old school. You find this in majority of like the Carl Goldberg kits and all that stuff. It has a little nipple at the center there, or a raised sharp pointed piece. And what you do here is you place it on your control surface, you twist it where this and this is touching and riding the sides. Alright, and then you push it down, and while you're still keeping pressure on there, you go ahead and you score. So you pretty much can score your center line without having to measure anything. Alright, just go like that, make sure you're touching on both sides, and just go straight down. And what that would do is it'll put an indentation just like you see here. And as a matter of fact, if I were to draw that, there's that line. Alright, so that's just another way of doing it. And yeah, and so from here I'm gonna go ahead and I'm going to cut my openings from my slot, my hinges. And how I'm gonna do that is just very little, keeping my blade up in a 90 degree, and I'm just going to slowly cut into the trailing edge here, just like so. Every single time I go down, I'm applying a little bit more pressure to go into that trailing edge. Now you gotta make sure you keep it straight at a 90 degree, because if you're kind of crooked, you're gonna end up coming out to the side. Alright, so keep it nice and straight as much as you can, and just go on in. Alright, don't try to be a hero and try to do it all at one time. You end up either cracking the wood or cutting yourself by accident. Alright, well, it's not an accident because you're pretty much aware of what's going to happen. So take your time, and there we go. That's the cool thing, is that this piece of trailing edge balsa stock is pretty, it's not that soft, but it's X-Acto friendly. There's some materials out there that you kind of run into a knot or the grain and all that stuff, and it becomes harder to cut, so don't force it. Alright, so we're going to do that again, and we're just gonna lightly follow our score mark, keeping the blade nice and straight, and just little by little, you know, cut down in there. All right. Once you get to a certain, you know, depending on how thick your hinges are, just go that in that thick. You don't have to go all the way to the other side. All right. And I'll just pull this out and verify. All right. And then we'll move on to the next one. Now this one here, I have to do it like this. Now this is a bit awkward. All right, so just gotta be very mindful. Don't cut yourself. Well, that's what I'm telling myself not to do. Making sure I don't cut myself here. I didn't time lapse this. This is real time here. All right, and so from here I'm gonna go ahead and insert all 3 hinges right in the location that we just cut. In a perfect world, I could get this all at one time. There you go. We're just gonna slide it in slowly. From here, let's push it in. All right. Now, as you can see, I got a little bit of a gap. That's because that's the thickness of the actual hinge, the pin area. Let me go pull you back because I don't think you can see that. All right. So as you can see right here, I got good gap at the top. All right. Enough for the monocoat to layer up on both top and bottom. I'll still have some movement. Eventually we're going to bevel this leading edge of the rudder so you have better deflection, and you can also notch it out just a little bit here, here, and here so that you can close up that gap. All right, but the main key here is now that we got, if you're looking at it from the bottom, here and here, they're all even all the way down. Now we can go ahead and try to center this on the top here. We'll find our center line here, and we'll kind of lock it in place, right? And then we'll go ahead and trace it so that we can remove this, and then we can start sanding this to get it to that line. And then we'll put the rudder back on, and if anything, I can run maybe a long T-pin from the top down to lock it in place while I sand the finishing portion of it. All right, we'll see how everything is. Or you can actually put, you know, tape and everything on both sides to lock it in place. All right, but overall, this is pretty much the rudder for the Ultra Sport 1000, guys. Rudder and fin. Alright guys, so we got the whole vertical fin and rudder all trimmed off of the plans, all rounded. The only thing I need to do is basically get the leading edge, the top, and the trailing edge of the rudder rounded and contoured as per the diagram. Alright, well, that's it. Alright guys, so that completes part 1 of the Ultra Sport 1000 build series, the vertical fin and rudder assembly. So the next video, in part 2, we will take care of the horizontal stabilizer and elevator assembly, and we'll see how far we get in that video. We basically will take care of building the fuselage and the wing. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and if you are subscribed to the channel already, I really appreciate you. All right. Take care. See you in the next video. Shoo shoo!